When it comes to horse racing, you can never have too much information. With TwinSpires, you can place your bets with confidence, whether you use handicapping insights like our Brisnet speed ratings, prime power and past performances, the guidance of our experts' top picks, or just choose a name that catches your eye. Yes! No matter how you pick your horse, bet with TwinSpires. And now you can share the thrill with friends using our exclusive Bet Share feature.
We're back with the TwinSpires jury. I'm Ashley Anderson here with James Scully and Darin Zoccali to talk our best bets and fades of the week at Keeneland and Oakland Park. Darin, welcome back. You've been absent the last 2 weeks. You were in Disney World and had a little run-in with pirates. If you follow his social media, you know what I'm talking about. And you just went to WrestleMania. You're kind of like living the dream right now.
Yeah, it was a good couple of weeks for sure. WrestleMania was really cool. The Sunday night was awesome. Just a great weekend with the family, with friends, with kids, and Disney World's always a good time. Every time I come back home, I don't know why I leave, but maybe one day we'll be a permanent resident of Florida, but we're not quite there yet.
Well, I'll start things off with you today. Tell me your best bet of the week and where you're going to play that.
Yeah, I mean, look, the card on Saturday at Keeneland is obviously sensational. I'm going to look to the Jenny Wiley Stakes. There's a lot of rain in the forecast, so it remains to be seen what the turf condition is. But I've been quite a fan of Elusive Princess for a while here, and I think she really has a chance to step forward in this spot. Mile on the 16th, race number 9 on Saturday. She's second race back off the layoff. I still have that win over soft turf at Saratoga fresh in my mind from the summer, where she blew the doors off the field impressively in the Saratoga Oaks Invitational. She ran a kind of even fourth in the QE2 behind Maj, but when you take a look back at that effort at Saratoga, I mean, she's extremely wide here on the far outside of the racetrack, just going to gobble up ground and go by these horses like they're almost tied to a post. She's got a great turn of foot. There's going to definitely be some cut in the ground because it's been raining all week. So the fact that she got over this bog at Saratoga that day certainly, I think, speaks well. The price is going to be right because I think people might not fade her, but shy away from her off that last effort in the Hillsborough, where she was beating the length in a race that she might have needed. I just think she's a high-class filly here. She catches a field that I think she could do some damage, and I think she's going to get a good setup over a course that she likes at a square price, Ashley.
So I'm a little surprised you're not backing Didia. Is it because of the price? I know you like that horse.
I do like Didia, and she was actually my best bet of the weekend when she ran in the Pegasus World Cup filly and mare turf. I just think this is a tougher field. I think the reason I liked Didia that day was because she was coming out of tougher races, and even though it was a grade 1, I thought the overall quality of that field was not necessarily up to what she had been facing previously. Now I think she's going in against the likes of Fluffy Socks, Elusive Princess, Gina Romantica, among others. I just think this time out, I wouldn't like her at a short price where last time I accepted it.
Makes sense. What do you think, James?
Yeah, I think that's a tough race. My best bet of the weekend is going to be number 2, Taxed, in the Grade 1 Apple Blossom at Oakland Park on Saturday. She's 5-1 on the morning line, and Taxed was a filly that I really loved her win in the 9 furlong Black Eyed Susan last May. I thought she was going to move forward off of that performance. She didn't do that. She raced a couple more times. By late September, she was headed to the sidelines, and she came back from about a 6-month layoff in late last month, in mid-March, Tax did, at a 6 furlong distance that was too short for her, at least looked too short. She had never run at a distance less than a mile, and she just blew the doors off of this field. Here she is, the great filly on the outside, rolling past her. I think that this comeback performance really sets the table for Tax to show much more at age 4 this year. She's got a strong, when she's done her best running, she's displayed a really strong turn of foot. And I think that this comeback effort really bodes well for this 4-year-old filly. I love her stretching back out to a mile and a 16th distance. I don't think this is the toughest addition. We're looking at Count Fleet Field, but I don't think this is the toughest addition of the Apple Blossom. And I'm going with number 2, Taxed. Ashley is my best bet.
Right, I was looking at that field. That is the Count Fleet, which we'll talk about later. And I'll bring it over to the Lexington Stakes at Keeneland on Saturday. This is the final road to the Kentucky Derby prep race, 20 points to the winner. And I'm going with number 8, Encino at 5-1. This is a Brad Cox runner, was entered in the Bluegrass last weekend, then scratched, and now I think faces some lighter competition. A Nyquist colt who's a neck shy of a 3-for-3 record. He won his last two, both at a mile and a 16th, but racing on all weather at Turfway, now trying dirt for the first time. And Brad Cox is a 24% winner with that surface switch from all weather to dirt. He also wins at a 28% rate with horses that won their last race. And Florent Giroux is aboard. He's been red hot to start the Keeneland meet. Also some sharp workouts at Keeneland. So I'm going with the price at 5-1. I almost went liberal arts because of all the rain that's been happening at Keeneland and potentially a little bit of an off track, but I'm going to stick with Encino in this spot. And I think you might have something to say about liberal arts, James, and maybe a morning line favorite as well. So let's go to our fade section and tell me, James, who is your fade of the week?
Well, I'm going to fade the Wine Steward, number 2, the Wine Steward in Saturday's Lexington Stakes. The Wine Steward, granted, he ran a huge race last fall when he came to Keeneland, and he ran a half-length second to Locked in the Breeders' Futurity. But I will say he was also in razor-sharp form at the time, winning his first 3 starts. He came there and basically, even though he drew an inside post that day, I thought he really had a favorable inside stalking trip, pounced in the top of the stretch, and then just barely lost to Locked by a neck. One thing about these mile and a 16th races for 2-year-olds in the fall is it's sometimes, they're not relative to like what their best distances are. I mean, 2-year-olds with class that are future one-turn types can stretch out and get a mile and a 16th in the right circumstances late in their 2-year-old season. I see it happen all the time. The Wine Steward was a brilliant winner in a couple of starts at 6 furlongs before he won another 6 furlong stake at Saratoga. I still think one-turn distances might be in his future, and I would have preferred to see a prep instead of this race right back off the shelf going a mile and a 16th from an inside post. So I'm going to fade the Wine Steward and the Lexington Stakes. And I do like Liberal Arts a little bit. I give him the edge. I really liked his Street Sense win last year, but that's a fair – and we'll see how wet the track is by Saturday afternoon. But he does like off ground. But I respect your pick, Ashley, because Encino to me, I mean, I watched that John Battaglia. He was just getting started late. He looks like a young, raw, talented individual that's just figuring things out. So I'll be looking to play Encino and Liberal Arts in any of my multi-race wagers on Saturday. And who's your best fade of the weekend, Darin?
Yeah, I agree. I didn't like the Wine Steward there either, but you had already gotten that pick. So I'm going to go to a horse in the sequence as well. Race number 8, which is a tough third level allowance event. I don't like Classic Catch in here, who's your 2-1 choice. And I think he's going to be wildly overbet here off the 6-month layoff just because of the races that he's coming out of. He ran in the Hill Prince last time at grade 2 at 13-1 behind Integration, a horse that I'm very high on. He didn't really run much of a step that day. 2 starts, but the start before that, I should say, he ran over a sloppy seal track at Belmont in what was an off-the-turf Jockey Club Derby Invitational. And that's the race you're going to get a look at in this particular spot here. That's him on the outside, trying to get to Lost Ark. Now, you're going to see this horse, he kind of wanders way to the outside here. He's got Lost Ark in front of him. People are going to see Jockey Club Derby, and they're going to say, oh, he's been facing these much better horses. This was an off-the-turf event. Lost Ark is just not that good of a racehorse. His next couple of starts are just not good at all. And this horse couldn't get by Lost Ark that day. So I don't really see a reason why he needs to be an overwhelming choice in this spot. I think the Dale Romans entry is interesting. They face some tough competition. I definitely think Transect is a legitimate wire-to-wire threat after not showing up over the Tapeta surface last time out in the Dust Commander Stakes. Just think there's a lot of other ways you can go, and I think you could nip here and really fade Classic Catch and try to open things up in the late pick 4, late pick 5 at Keeneland on Saturday, guys.
I think there's some good prices in this race. I actually ended up settling on number 4, Brigadier General, at 10-1. He's 2 for 2 at Keeneland, so I think there's a chance there. I also like Frosted Departure, had a huge Brisnet speed figure at the distance, so looking for him to bounce back potentially for Kenny McPeak as well. And for my fade, I'm going to take it to the Giants Causeway. This is race 7, and I'm going with number 11, Elm Drive at 7-2, who drew an outside post, which could cause her trouble. This is a 5-year-old mare who's raced on both turf and dirt, and mainly was racing on dirt, and then it was her 10th career start, tried turf. Now she's been beaten ahead at 6.5 furlongs twice, but it's been a late rally when she's finished ahead second in those races. Also raced a mile on turf and was far back in 7th. So I don't really like this cut back to 5.5 furlongs. Looking at how she's been racing at 6.5, I just don't think she's going to do well with that cutback in distance. I think there's some much better horses with better prices. I like Roses for Deborah, number 8 at 9-2. And then I think could even with Mike Smith, aboard Kissed by Fire at 10-1, I'm going to take a shot there as well.
Yeah, it's a good angle. I do think I think there's value in that. I think there's a big difference between 5, 5.5, and 6, 6.5 in these turf sprints. And if you've never gone less than 6.5 furlongs on the turf, or like Elm Drive has, I think it's a legitimate question. I definitely wouldn't I wouldn't want to find out at short odds whether or not she's effective cutting back to that trip.
Absolutely. Well, Darin, before we move on to what else we're watching for, you got any promos for us this weekend?
Always have promos. Keeneland is in full effect. So we have the daily double down at Keeneland, which takes place every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. 25% boost on all of your winning daily double wagers. The key to unlock it is you have to hit at least 2 daily doubles, and then those 2 and any subsequent winning daily doubles that result in a profit. You got to be able to win more than you actually bet, because it is a 25% profit boost. We're going to add that 25% onto whatever your winnings were for profit. And on top of that, they've lowered the takeout rate to 15% on the daily doubles at Keeneland. So this is really a prime opportunity to really jump on that opportunity itself. If you're going to bet the daily doubles at the lower takeout, we're going to give you the 25% boost on Wednesday, Thursdays, and Fridays. So be sure to be locked in with us. All meet along at Keeneland here at TwinSpires. And then beyond that, we have a selected money back offer on the weekend. Going to pick some serious races Saturday and Sunday, throw them at you, give you an opportunity to get that win wager back up to $10. It's one of the fan favorites. They like having that little cushion of insurance, so we're going to be sure to keep that money back going on here as we roll through the spring season, heading into Derby week, which of course we're going to have chock full of money backs as well. But Ashley, for now, those are the 2 prime offers up on the page.
And I believe our selected races are the Giants Causeway and the Lexington on Saturday. So we just gave you some picks there.
There you go.
All right. Well, Darin, what else are you watching for this weekend?
I really like the card on Friday at Keeneland, guys. I'm hoping that the rain kind of wraps up by the morning hours, and we could at least keep these 2 stakes races on the turf, because I really like the Limestone for the 3-year-old fillies. It's a really interesting race. It's loaded. Nicest Pie really kind of catches the eye for what she did at Turfway Park over the winter. She's obviously a synthetic freak. Kind of curious to see what she does over turf. It's you can be bred for it. You cannot be bred for it. You don't really know what you're going to do until you run over it for the first time. But certainly, I think that she's an interesting filly in this field. And another one that I think you might want to take a look at a big number in here is Kodiak Wintergreen. I've been high on her since her debut. She's 15-1 on the morning line. She debuted and ran second behind a Mixed Wave, who's also in this field, a horse that was the winner of the Bolton Landing and second in the Indian Summer. But Kodiak Wintergreen, then in her subsequent try, look at this turn of foot that you are going to see coming down the center. That's her running in 5th right now in the yellow cap. She is going to just explode here to go by these fillies. So you're getting 15-1 on a filly with this type of a turn of foot, who would then come out of that race and ran a decent 4th behind the talented Austere in the juvenile fillies, where she was 5-2. You take a look at her 3 starts, guys. She was 2-1, even money, 5-2, first time off the layoff, 15-1 morning line. I'll take that all day. So I think Kodiak Wintergreen is an interesting long shot in the Limestone Stakes on Friday at Keeneland, guys.
Yeah, very clever analysis there. I like it. And what else? I'm going to mention just like here in Lexington, Kentucky, we have had several days of rain. It's been raining so hard the last few days. It seems like it's been raining for over a week, seemingly. But it is expected to finally stop on Friday morning. It's going to have some rain overnight Thursday. Hopefully it stops early Friday, and we can have a good period of no rainfall before they start running those turf stakes that Darin referenced. But one thing's for sure, the ground's going to have some give to it, and they'll do everything they can to run the Great Ed Stakes on turf. But I wanted to mention the feature on Friday is the Grade 1 Maker's Mark Mile. We've got a morning line favorite in there, Master of Seas. He's 4-5 on the morning line. Master of the Seas is a horse that he had a little bit of a reputation for preferring ground on the good to firm side. Now, he did win his last start in Europe last fall or last summer on a soft course, but you could see his 2 previous starts before that came on soft ground. He didn't run well. He's definitely like the firmer turf he's gotten in America. It'll be interesting to see if that affects Master of the Seas, the heavy favorite in the Maker's Mark Mile. I'll mention 2 other former Europeans, Naval Power, Master of the Seas stablemate at 10-1, number 3, and number 5, Kubrick. Both of them are stakes winners overseas on extremely soft ground, so the conditions could move them up, perhaps at least from a vertical exotics perspective. And then in the Grade 1s, Jenny Wiley on Saturday, I'll reference what Darin was saying. Elusive Princess, she reeled off 3 consecutive wins over soft ground in France. At the end of 2022 into 2023. She figures to really take to the ground if it's real soft on Saturday. And I'll mention there's a filly for Michael Appleby in there named English Rose, a 4-year-old Frankel filly. I would expect her to really prefer turf that's got some give to it also. So watch out for the soft turf horses in the Keeneland Turf Stakes this weekend. The ground will have plenty of give to it, Ashley.
Yeah,
Actually, I'm just going to jump in real quick to mention a horse. We were talking about the Maker's Mark Mile. I think one of the interesting horses on the weekend is Integration, who I've been a fan of since his debut. And I really didn't think he got a good trip at all in the Pegasus World Cup Turf Invitational, where Tyler Gaffleone tried to work out an inside-out trip where with the short stretch at Gulfstream, you just get shut off all the time when you try to make that move. That hole that you think is going to be there at the top of the stretch gets closed quickly. And it was actually Frankie Dettori in that race who did close the hole on him. And lo and behold, Frankie Dettori is now aboard Integration here in the Grade 1 Maker's Mark. So you're going to get a better price on him than probably you have since his second lifetime start. I think he's an extremely talented horse who got a tough trip last time and has a chance to jump back forward.
I agree 100%. I really like Integration as well. And, Kendrick Carmouche did a great job riding him in those 2 stakes wins last year. And, when he put Tyler Gaffleone on him, you're right. I mean, he broke alertly in there. He dropped him back, and then he really did not give him a good ride, I didn't think, coming off that turn. So he's a horse. He's only run on firm ground, but he's definitely would be no surprise to see him take to any conditions for Shug and bounce back with an improved effort, Ashley.
I was going to mention, too, with a rider switch, you talked about Kubrick, who's getting Flavian Pratt, and, always a good jockey to have on turf as well. And a big price there, 20-1. So see what happens there. Well, I'm going to take it over to Oakland, where it's supposed to be sunny, not going to have any issues with weather. And it's not a really good price you're getting on Scully's even money. But if you're interested in the sprint division, this is a fun race to watch. You've got Scully going up against 2 stablemates. He won this race last year with the Count Fleet Handicap. He's racing for Steve Asmussen, who has 5 wins in this race. And you just got a lot of really good sprinters in this field. You also have Tejano Twist, a closer who keeps running into a lot of these rivals in this field. But I think potentially if we get a really hot pace, maybe we'll see Tejano Twist rebound here. But more than likely, Scully, I think, is going to bounce back off of his second. He had a 7-win streak, then raced in the Rida Dirt Sprint and finished second. So this is his chance to rebound at Oakland. I believe he has just 2 losses from 8 starts at this track. So a really good runner at Oakland to watch this weekend.
I like seeing him come back this quick. Right. Sometimes these horses go over and run in Saudi Arabia or Dubai, and, it's 3-4 plus months before we see him again. It was only 2 months ago Scully ran a good second over there, so he's definitely that's encouraging to see him right back for Steve Asmussen.
Yeah, I'm happy to see him back, but at the same time, from a betting proposition, sometimes these horses come back overseas off the travel and they don't fire their best shot first time out. So at a short price, if you're ever going to see a time where this horse could potentially be vulnerable, maybe this is the time. I trust Asmussen. He wouldn't be running a short horse in a spot like this in a Grade 3. He has to think he's doing extremely well, but he's facing the same old horses that he's been knocking heads with. Jackson Traveler, you mentioned, of course, Tejano Twist, Rivet. Some real talented sprinters down in Hot Springs, Arkansas all winter. It's a really compelling race that I think is a much higher quality than the grade 3 assignment to the stake.
He does have early speed next to him, a long shot who might push him, and that could create that perfect setup for Tano Twist. So I would back Tano Twist if I'm not going to back Scully in this race. All right, well, that's all the time we have today for the TwinSpires jury. Head to TwinSpires.com or the TwinSpires app for those promos that Darin mentioned at Keeneland, and we'll be back next Thursday with more best bets and fades.
When it comes to horse racing, you can never have too much information. With TwinSpires, you can place your bets with confidence, whether you use handicapping insights like our Brisnet speed ratings, prime power and past performances, the guidance of our experts' top picks, or just choose a name that catches your eye. Yes! No matter how you pick your horse, bet with TwinSpires. And now you can share the thrill with friends using our exclusive Bet Share feature.